Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. My name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth. I'm going to really go to Talladega. Before I go to Talladega, I got some business to take care of. Talking football, talking with Smoke and Jeremy B. We'll give everybody a little overview about what you're doing, Smoking.
Well, I am currently a published editorialist for Scott the Motor City Madmouth with the South Florida Tribune under the Motor City Tribune. I also have my own podcast called Kneecap Biting with Smoke and Jeremy B. I talk all Lions except on Wednesday. I do an NFL show similar to this.
All right, Mel, obviously, I'll let you get your intro in a little bit quicker so we can go through the topic faster and everybody can watch football. Go ahead, Mel.
How's everybody doing? Hey, when you go to Talladega, can you tell Ricky Bobby I said hello?
Absolutely. Later on, Talladega Nights. I'll be taking on the midnight ride of Paul Revere, but only Scott Morganroth does a midnight ride. So, anyways, well, welcome back. As always, we enjoy having you on every week. So, I've been working with Mel for a long time, and he just gets better with every show. And last but not least, Jennifer Lewis, who I'm involved with a lot of things through Sideline Sports. Welcome back, Jen.
Hi, thanks for having me again.
You're welcome. This is your show, sweetheart. Shine. Okay. With that said, we're going to go over some of the topics. We're going to talk mainly about the Miami-Cincinnati Bengals game, as well as a couple other topics. We're going to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we'll have our parting shots and a little bit of hurricane news pertaining to the Bucs and the Chiefs. With that said, I'm going to give you guys some facts. You comment on the facts. Joe Burrow has been sacked 66 times since the start of 2021. No other quarterback has taken more than 52 sacks. Okay, Mel, you know what it's like to play in front of offensive line. Give me your take on Joe Burrow.
I like Joe Burrow. I liked him coming out of college. I think he's cool. I think he's very calm in the pocket. Maybe he holds onto the ball a little bit too long. Maybe that's why he's been taking a lot of sacks, been taking a lot of unnecessary hits. But, he's got probably, the best wide receiver trio in the league. They have very good running backs. He just got to help. Sometimes, his quarterback play, you can help out your offensive line, and you just got to be able to get rid of the ball quickly. Know where you're going to go with it. Know where your first read is, your second read is. If it's not there, just throw it away or dump it off, one of the two. But I like Joe Burrow. I think, I think he's going to be a good quarterback in this league for a long time.
Well, made it to one Super Bowl. He had 13 sacks the first couple of weeks. He only got off with 2, so he's at 15. So thankfully, I hope those numbers spiral downwards. So go ahead, Jeremy. Give me your thoughts about Joe. I just love his overall cool demeanor.
He's a very accurate quarterback. He doesn't have those big issues, but the first couple of weeks he was pressured so much. I think he got PTSD for a little bit. Now I think he's coming around. The O-line's starting to block a little better, which is why you saw less sacks and why you saw more completions, and they finally got a win.
Jennifer?
Exactly. Similar to what Mel and Jeremy both said, especially Jeremy right now. The O-line wasn't communicating effectively when he first came into the league. They didn't have enough time to get to know each other. Now they're starting to build those relationships on and off the field, which is very important. The leadership was probably not there initially. The leadership is there now, and along with the friendship. So as long as you have that mutual respect amongst your peers, they're going to hold you up regardless, of whatever. But that's what was going on with Joe. When a little change is made, and Mel, you know this better than anybody, when a change is made and it's not communicated effectively, then it's going to affect the entire lineup and the entire football team.
Well, yeah, the only thing I'll add to the whole thing is this. Number one, Mel and I remember when there used to be 14 games in the regular season. Jeremy, you probably did too. Now, obviously, yeah. What's that, Jennifer?
I said I do too.
Oh, do you? Okay, well, that's good. I wasn't sure of it. But anyways, there were 14, went up to 16, 17. So now you've gotten 3 out of the way, so we're down to 14, meaning that you have 3 games to have acclimated. So hopefully we'll see all these real NFL teams acclimate now that you got 3 down and 14 to go. With that said, we'll talk about the game of the night. Last time the Miami Dolphins started 4-0 was in 1995 when Dan Marino was a quarterback. Don Shula was a head coach. Jeremy, how about that? The Dolphins are 4-0. Of course, they were 14-0 when they went undefeated. Well, why don't you just give me some thoughts about the Dan Marino, Don Shula connection, because then we're going to go to Mike McDaniel in a moment.
Well, Don Shula not only was a great coach, but he also had quite possibly on that undefeated season the best backup quarterback to ever play the game in Earl Morrell. That guy did nothing but win. He did the same thing in Baltimore when Johnny U got hurt. Then he brought Johnny U back, and that's the reason they lost to the New York Jets. Now he did the same thing to Earl Morrell again when he became the starter when Bob Greasy went down, and they make it to the playoffs under Earl Morrell's playing, and then they started Bob Greasy again because everybody loves their starters. And he actually told Earl Morrell when he hired him, he goes, yeah, if you start doing that good, we're not going to do that to you again. Then he did it again. That's why Earl Morrell left the Dolphins the next year.
Yeah, Earl Morrell. I remember I had a chance to meet him when he was actually quarterback coach for the Miami Hurricanes. I saw him play when the Canes played Michigan State down in the Orangeville in '82. Yeah, he's definitely one of the best backup quarterbacks. And I'll tell you, I'm sure there are a lot more of those backup quarterbacks like you do now, because you have to place a lot of emphasis on the backup quarterbacks. And Earl Morrell was certainly one of those. All right, Mel, Coach Shula, Dan Marino, 4-0. Seemed like yesterday, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I would say they had a special relationship. They did a lot of great things together. I mean, in the second year in the league, they went to the Super Bowl, and I'm sure that Dan thought he was going to get back there again. But it just shows how difficult it is to win in this league. You never got an opportunity to get back there again. You kind of take those things for granted when you're young, and sometimes you kind of forget. The teams are different, the makeup is different, injuries happen. Just a bunch of different stuff. Other teams get better, and it's just a lot of different things go on. But obviously, they had a very special relationship and did a lot of good things together. They won a lot of football games, and obviously, things worked out well for Dan Marino, Hall of Fame career, and also Coach Shula as well.
Yeah, Don Shula, when I was covering the Dolphins in the early 80s, I'll never forget what Coach John Shula told me. I got to know him for a better part of a couple of years. He always told me that what he does is make sure that he feeds off his players' strengths, and that's what he did with Dan Marino. He knew that they didn't have a very good running attack, so he cut off the passing game, and Dan Marino had numbers 60,000 plus yards. I didn't think would ever be broken until the new NFL came along, and now he's further down on the depth chart in terms of the record list. But the only thing I'll say about this, and this is no disrespect to Dan Marino by any means, but here's the deal, okay? When Jimmy Johnson came here from the Dallas Cowboys, Jimmy wanted a balanced attack. Dan Marino didn't like it. Unfortunately, Dan Marino's career ended with a rout in Jacksonville, and Jimmy Johnson wasn't able to win a Super Bowl in two places. But Don Shula definitely allowed Dan Marino to do what he had to do, and Dan, to me, was one of the quarterbacks that had the best quick release I've ever seen. Even to this day, I don't think there's a quarterback out there that has as good a release as Dan Marino. Forget about all the numbers. I'm talking about quick release per se. But Don Shula fed into his strengths. Jimmy Johnson wanted a balanced attack, and that's where it all went south after that. All right, Jennifer, some thoughts about the Marino-Shula combination.
I loved it. I mean, honestly, I remember one of my first professional games that I saw was at then Ericsson Stadium, now Bank of America Stadium. And Dan Marino was so freaking smooth with that ball. You couldn't leave it. You couldn't see it leave his hands. It was epic. Shula put the right people around him. Dan was a true leader. He still is. He is probably, I know there's more, but honestly, when I think of and NFL quarterbacks who should have won a Super Bowl, Dan Marino was always the first one who pops into my head.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, I mean, I don't think there's much to add to what Mel and Jeremy said, because, I mean, just that combination. Like, Shula's up there in the conversations with Lombardi and other epic coaches, and they were amazing together.
Well, they surround them with good personnel. I had an opportunity to write stories of Mark Cooper and Mark Clayton back in the day, and Mark Ingram was a heck of a receiver too. And you have targets like that,
Yeah,
there's no way you can fail. And indeed, Dan and Don took advantage of those players, and they did well with them. All right, we'll stay on the Dolphins thing. Mike McDaniel can become the first rookie head coach to start 4-0 since 2015 when Dan Quinn pulled the trick in Atlanta. Mel Farr, you think Mike McDaniel's going to pull it off?
I mean, They're playing. The Bengals lost last week, right? So I think they have a little.
Actually, I think the Bengals won last week, wasn't it?
Did they? Did they win
Yeah,
last week?
they won it.
Yeah, they all the weeks just kind of bunched together.
Yeah.
Cincinnati is a tough place to play. They are coming off a game, Miami, that is, in which their defense was on the field for quite a bit of time, chasing around the Buffalo Bills and trying to corral that quarterback. And he's
Josh Allen,
and he's a load. I don't know. I mean, does he have a chance? Yeah. I mean, that's why they play the games. They have an opportunity. You like what they're doing. I think the biggest thing that he's done is he's come in and he's, really stood behind Tua and say, hey, you're my guy. And, you can see that Tua's playing with confidence. And I think that says a lot about when, your coach believes in you and is feeding you positivity, what you're able to get out of that individual. And that's not just in professional football. That's in life, in relationships, with your significant
100%.
other, just in every, friends, all that. If you're positive and the guy really feels like he's wanted, and you're always talking to him and encouraging him, good things can happen. And I think that's what's happening with Miami. Now, again, I don't know. I mean, he has an opportunity. Yes. I mean, will they do it today? I don't know. I didn't look at it enough to be able to tell you. But he has an opportunity to do it. That'd be something special.
So let's break down the Buffalo game for a moment. The defense, I believe, played 90 snaps, right? So they're tired in that hot weather. And of course, and before I turn over to Jennifer, I'm going to throw this in there as well. All right. On that play that Tua went to the ground, do you feel that was a back injury, Mel, or a concussion?
Well, his head didn't hit the ground that hard. And as soon as I saw him, I'm like, man, this guy stays hurt. That's what I'm thinking to myself. Man, even when the quarterback sneak, I'm like, why would you sneak this guy? I mean, and he gets up hobbled on the quarterback sneak. I said, oh my God, this guy's hurt. I mean, he's the last guy you want to do a quarterback sneak with when you have the running backs that you have. Let those running backs pound in there because, I mean, he is fragile at best. So,
yes.
I mean, I believe what I believe what they say. I mean, that's what he said. But I mean, he looked a little wobbly legged. I mean, I've seen that before when I've gone in there and given somebody the humbler and they get a little wobbly leg. But he looked a little wobbly. But I mean, he said it was his back. I believe it was his back because he didn't hit his head. Didn't have that real hard snap back, and his head really didn't hit the ground very hard or violently. But that's not to say that he couldn't have been concussed, especially who were talking about glass jaw Tua. But I believe it.
All right, Jeremy, you're laughing. So why don't you continue where Mel is at on this whole thing?
That is the main reason why I was hoping any team stayed away from him is because of all the injuries that went all the way back to his sophomore year of high school. Mm-hmm. He missed 4 games his sophomore year. He missed 6 games his junior year. He missed 3 games his senior year, all in high school. That was a start. The fact that he didn't get to play until the national championship that Alabama won that year, that probably saved him from being hurt that year. There's a lot that goes into it, and he did get hurt the next year. So there's a lot that goes into this, and injury history is a thing. There's a reason why I didn't want Mr. Glass on any team I followed.
Well, all right, Jennifer, top that one.
So Mike McDaniel, great resume. He started out working for the Shanahans, and he's just worked his way up. That being said, he's also riding the coattails of what Brian Flores had started last year. At the beginning of last season, the Miami Dolphins were plagued with injuries, plagued. Near the end of the year, they were on a winning streak. They were unbeatable. So McDaniel has that going for him as well. He walked into a team that had really good chemistry. I personally don't mind Teddy Bridgewater as a backup quarterback. He's got his fans. He's solid for a backup. He's not a starter anymore. After his injury with the Vikings, that kind of ended his starting days because he had a little PTSD too. But that being said, tonight for my Pick'em League, I actually did pick the Miami Dolphins because they beat the Buffalo Bills, and I kind of was dumb and thought the Bills were kind of unbeatable. So, but Mel was right. They are. So, and the Dolphins,
Any team's beatable when 6 of your starters are hurt on the defense.
that is true. But they,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, that's okay. Complete your thought.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think that the Dolphins will handily win this evening. I know that.
Okay, no problem. Well, here,
down, but Miami ain't easy either.
All right, let me comment on this one myself. On the surface, it looked like a concussion, the way he was wobbling all the way like a weeble, but he wouldn't fall down practically. But as the week went on, it became apparent that I didn't really know who to believe. I know the NFLPA was looking to investigate what it was, but Mike McDaniel's one of those kind of guys who follow the medicals before we jump the gun on it. Mm-hmm. So that, to me, what it turns out to be. The biggest thing that led to Brian Flores' undoing in Miami was his inability to get along with the quarterback. You can't do that, okay, no matter what. You want to make sure that if you're a head coach, that you are getting along with your signal caller to the best of your ability. And, there might have been other things that led to Brian Flores' undoing. But when they're talking about moving Tua for Deshaun Watson and you're not comfortable with the number 5 pick in the draft, you have a problem with that. So, I'll go back to what I said. I thought at the beginning, when I saw him go down, it looked like a concussion, falling up and all the signals. But as the week went on, here we are. He's expected.
I mean, honestly, when it was announced that he came back in, I was like, oh, because I was flipping, I was red zoning it during that game Sunday, but last week. I don't know why that time I wasn't that worried about him because I felt like it was just a stinger. I think it was because he came back out I mean, I don't know. That was just me because I can tell, I don't know why. I can almost tell when quarterbacks actually have concussions. But I've had enough concussions in my own life,
because you know what?
The glazed look that you try to hide. So...
Yeah, but you know what, Jennifer, you're making a lot of valid points. Pretty hard to debate. It looked like a stinger as it turned out because he did make a big play in the second half. They ended up winning a game that, like you, I thought they were going to lose it handily too. But here's what the Dolphins had going. The Buffalo Bills were in the heat the whole time. You take away a team like that, and I've been to that stadium a lot, and the visiting team really takes a brunt of the heat. So that worked against them. And the Dolphins have been playing good football. You know what? I'll own it that I thought Buffalo was going to go ahead and win the football game, but Miami's got a pretty good schedule. And the reality is he is going to play tonight. I'm sure Teddy Bridgewater will be by if they need him. But, again, I'll reiterate, Brian Flores didn't get along with Tua. Mike McDaniel seems like an easygoing guy. And more importantly, he's an offensive. I
didn't hear a lot about Brian Flores and Tua not getting along.
Oh, yeah.
I don't follow the Dolphins that closely, though, so I'm not going to lie.
Well, I'm down here. I read the media releases, and I also read what goes on around me. I have to, really. So there's a little bit of tension there between them. And, of course, and don't forget that you add Darrell Bevel to the mix from Jacksonville, and you have another quality offensive mind to go along with McDaniel, and Tua's having a good year. And don't forget the fact that you've got a solid running attack, and then you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle will help. So the Dolphins have pretty good. They look pretty good offensively.
Is Jalen Waddle still out for this game?
No, he's playing.
He is playing. Okay, because he was questionable, and I didn't know if he ended up being out.
He caught a pass in the slot.
Nice.
Yeah. You know what I think of the word questionable, Jeremy, in football? Sticks and bones, they break my bones, but names ain't never going to hurt you. So, no, he's playing. Don't worry about it. That's the one part of the injury report that I kind of laugh at. All right, a couple more topics I want to get to tonight. And that being that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have made Miami home this week as they prepare for their matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. And it is scheduled to be played in Tampa despite Hurricane Ian. So, give me your thoughts, Jeremy, about what we can see with the Bucs and the Chiefs. And I'm glad the game was being played in Tampa, that Tampa got spared. Obviously, I have roots with Tampa, being a University of South Florida graduate. Jeremy, give me your take on the Bucs and the Chiefs.
For Tom Brady to be successful, I pray the interior of his O-line plays better than it has, because that's the only reason they lost to Green Bay, is he was getting pressured right up the middle. Kenny Clark was getting in there and everything else. If he wasn't in his face, he might have been able to throw that pass better at the end to tie the game up. That being said, he's going to have a rough go, because you're talking about that DT, was it Chris? God, I'm losing my thought on what's his name. Chris Johnson, is it? Christian Jones? Is that the DT for the Chiefs?
Chris Jones.
Chris Jones. He may wreak havoc on Tom Brady this game if that interior O-line doesn't shore it up.
No?
Well, I think, last week we saw didn't look like Tom was going to have much fun last week, to be honest with you. I mean, he didn't smile much at all. Can't tell you what's going on through his head, whether it's football related or whether it's family related, but right now he doesn't look like he's having a whole lot of fun. Doesn't have his wide receivers out there that he's accustomed to playing with. Doesn't have his weapons out there. I know Fournette was a little banged up. Obviously, the offensive line has been a problem. Defense has been playing lights out, give them all type of opportunities, but they just have not been able to move the football. So, yeah, they're going to be motivated to do something, but also Kansas City comes in pretty motivated as well. So this is going to be a good football game to watch. Now, if it's a high-scoring affair, if Kansas City is able to get some points, and we saw last week, Green Bay was able to move the ball in the first half, and then something happened in the second half. I don't know what kind of speech Tiger Bowles gave the defense in the second half, but they basically shut down Green Bay in the second half. If they're able to keep it close, Tom Brady's able to make a couple plays, I think that the Bucs will come out ahead.
All right, before I turn it over to Jennifer, just want to let everybody know to subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel, or visit www.southfloridatribune.com, and follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. So at Tribune South if you're at Twitter. To advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Or if you struggle to find it through the website, just go to youtube.com, look for South Florida Tribune, hit the subscribe button, and then you'll get all the notifications of shows that we have going on. Now I'll turn it over to Jennifer. Your thoughts, Jen, on the Bucs and the Chiefs. And I know isn't Megan Price out there as well?
No, that's Carrie Johnson. Carrie is a huge fan.
Sorry, it makes you gals up.
Yeah.
So.
Megan, as much as I absolutely love and adore her, disappoints me when she tells you her team. It's the Cowboys. But, I'm just kidding. Megan's awesome. I absolutely love her.
All you young ladies are awesome. But continue on.
The Chiefs are really coming in because they're also wanting payback for that Super Bowl. Right. Now, during that game, the Chiefs weren't the Chiefs. I kind of feel like the same can be said right now too. Even though they're winning, I get it. I understand. They're 2-1 right now. Mm-hmm. But I think Tom has a lot to play for too.
He's putting his mares on the line. He's got a lot to play for.
So I'm so torn on that one, only because a month ago he was on the Masked Singer, or 6 weeks ago he was on the Masked Singer. That's why he wasn't at preseason.
Was he really? I don't know.
Yeah, he was.
Oh.
Yeah, that was the rumor. It was a huge rumor, and then all of a sudden, when they're that was proven invalid, all of a sudden he and Giselle are having issues.
So wait a minute, was he on there or not?
The rumor was he was on there. I know that he was exempt from practice because it had been on the books already that he had a scheduling conflict.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they tell you. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's what they say. But here's the thing. That's why you need your mini camps. That's why you need your preseason games. I'm kind of opposed to having 17 games and only 3 preseason games. I think that 4th preseason game is now the first real game of the season. You need that time to really play with each other.
Well, I think the way that they do it now is really what the problem is. They don't play the players in the preseason anymore. Back when I was playing, the first game, the young guys and the new guys, they would get all the pretty much all the reps in the game. Maybe the older guys, the starters, wouldn't play the second game. They're going to play the first quarter. The starters. Third game, they're playing they're playing the half, and then the fourth game was like a dress rehearsal. I mean, they're going to play 3 quarters, and they might go into the fourth quarter. It was really like a dress rehearsal, getting ready for the season. You kind of ramped up. The way they do it now with these guys not playing at all, and they talk about the joint practices, they can get a lot more work done because they can do situational things. It's you can see
it's
in
not
the
working.
play. Yeah, you can see in the play. The teams that their starters did play in the preseason, they're performing a lot better offensively than the teams that did not. So right now, what we're looking at is really like guys getting their timing and getting their feet under them, and then by the third, fourth, this week and next week, we should be able to see hopefully better offense from the Buccaneers.
Who's the teams that played their starters this year? Buffalo, Kansas City, Philly, and Miami. They all played starters more in the preseason than any other team. Guess what? Those are all the successful teams right now.
Yeah.
And my Panthers didn't even name a starting quarterback until 2 days before the third preseason game.
You still don't have one.
Well, we're both aware of this.
But don't get her started, Mel. I'll tell you, get her started about
you got Baker Chokefield and Sam can't play Darnold. I see ghosts.
I actually I like Baker a little bit, man. I like him.
I don't mind him. I don't even mind Sam Darnold. Like, honestly, last year
I never liked Sam Darnold.
He did a lot of what was asked for, but he was put in a losing situation.
I never liked him in college. I didn't see it. I mean, maybe my eyes are lying to me. They might be deceiving me, but I never saw it.
Yeah, your only eyes.
That's how I view Kenny Pickett right now. To be honest with you, I may be wrong, but
could have been that crimson and gold he was wearing.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that. Yeah, you're a UCLA guy. He's from USC. Okay, I
didn't see it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, all right.
You want to hide him?
I know where you're at, Mel.
The Chiefs is just going to be a solid game.
So what? He won the Heisman,
didn't he? Baker and then Kyler. That was
Baker.
At the back.
We're talking about Sam Darnold. No.
Oh no, I was talking about Baker. Sam Darnold. No, I never liked him.
I like Baker. I thought Baker would be okay, to be honest with you. But I mean, he went to a bad situation up there in Cleveland. And again, we talked about it before. I mean, I wouldn't have given up all that for Deshaun Watson, and I wouldn't have done it.
I don't know why, but as an assistant GM, that smells all of a Bob Quinn move.
Sure.
I'm just saying. It smells like something he'd have done in Detroit. Let's trade everything and get this top 5 quarterback that may miss the season.
Where's Bob Quinn now?
He is the assistant GM of the Cleveland Browns.
Well, I was wondering where the connection was. Yeah, I heard he became an assistant GM.
I think they hired him so they can say, what O-lineman do you want, Bob? And if he says any other position, we're not taking him.
Okay. You know what? I don't take the fifth very often on this show, but that'll be one of the few that I do. Let me just make one quick comment about the Buccaneers Chiefs. You got to feel for the Buccaneers because they've been training here in Miami all week. So, you really want to push for them to do well, that despite all this adversity. And I know that
we got to feel what, Scott?
What's that?
We got to feel what? They're millionaires. They're okay.
Yeah, but come on, Mel. I mean, come on, Mel. Hold on. You want to deal with this natural disaster stuff called hurricanes and have to move
natural disaster for a person, for the average person is a real problem. Now, when you can relocate and go somewhere, come on, man. Come on. Got to do better.
Nevertheless, I have a heart for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers anyways, Mel, because that, as my brother Lonnie would say, hey, that's one of your old hometowns. Yeah, he's right about that.
All I know is I loved it when I lived there in '98, and I went to Raymond James to see my Lions play, and they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that year.
Was it Raymond James or was it the old Tampa Stadium? I'm wondering.
That was the first year Raymond James was open, I believe, was '98.
All right, well, whatever. But I can tell you right now, I can go out there in Tampa and have more people to see out there than I do back in Detroit. That just shows your word.
I know. I'm just playing.
I don't care. I'm not. I mean, I wear the ring proud. I'm a USF Bowl graduate proud, and the Buccaneers, more power to them. And University of Michigan guy is steering the ship. But Yeah, hey, listen, it'll be good to see a good rematch, and I'm actually glad that the game is being played in Tampa because I know there was talk of it going to Minnesota because it would have been indoors. So, we'll see. I hope everything goes off and they're able to get the game in there. So, I'm pulling for the Bucks, but to me, looking for a good game. But what's the difference? You know why? Number one, I'll be in Talladega, and number two, I'll be on Basket Bro, so I'm not going to know what the heck is going on with that game, anyways. What's that?
I said, woohoo.
Yeah, there you
said
go.
Basket Bros. She said, woo.
Yeah, he's the one who got me on that show in the first place, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Jennifer's the one that, listen, Jennifer got me on Pundit's Pundit, which I feel like I really fit in there. And we have a good group over there, a really great group over there. You, Jacob, name a couple of the other people on
Jay. It's you, me, Jacob, and Jay on Pundit's Pundit. And then Dom and I worked together. Like after Dom went on your podcast, he worked a lot with me to get you to be a regular member of Basket Bros.
Right.
And Jeremy, I freaking love Dom. He is such a sweetheart.
I love Dom too. He's one of my regular mainstay Lions fans on my show.
Yeah,
and they're both paired up on Fire Up Florida. We have a lot of familiarity in
Fire Up Michigan.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Fire Up Florida. I'm going to show you I'm fired up Florida because I'm part of my head is in Alabama tonight looking for Talladega. So
right.
Pardon me for needing a geography lesson tonight. I know everybody's laughing at it, but for whatever it's worth, folks, last Friday I drove one of those stock cars 147.54 miles an hour. Jennifer was getting texts right and left, and man, I did this thing, didn't I?
Did you get out of your car and take off your fire suit, thinking you're on fire, running around the track in your underwear?
Invisible fire! It's the invisible fire!
Nobody would want to see that part of me, but we'll leave that one. You're on fire tonight.
We don't want to see the Will Ferrell either, but we saw it.
Yeah, well, that's right. Maybe Will Ferrell looks a little
you ain't
better
first, your last.
Nevertheless, I have to say this. Go Bucks. That's all. The Tampa side of me. We'll see what happens. All right. Have another interesting game that probably, I think, the most interesting game of the week. We'll turn it over to the Jacksonville Jaguars. 2 wins.
Can I ask one random question? I'm sorry.
Sure.
So I've actually pondered quite a bit if the Saints-Bucks game and multiple fights did not really play into their mentals.
Well, not having Mike Evans was huge.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
That was big. I mean,
because you already had Godwin and Julio Jones hurt. To have him suspended, he didn't have his top 3 wide receivers. And for that game to be that close,
yeah.
Do you really trust Green Bay to do big numbers against anybody right now?
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
I just don't trust Aaron Rodgers. He lied. It's a shame because I don't care. Like it's your body, it's your choice. But you don't lie.
Didn't tell the truth.
Huh?
He didn't lie. He just didn't tell the truth.
He withheld the truth.
Lie by omission is still a lie.
Well, I'll tell it this way. I never knew what the word immunized was until Aaron Rodgers mentioned it. So take it for whatever it's worth.
I always thought immunized meant you got a shot. But
yeah, that's what I always wondered about too. But when he took it to an all new level, the only thing that Aaron Rodgers has to deal with is you got to hope he has a good running attack, and that he's able to figure out what the young guys and some of these older guys can stay healthy, and the Packers will have a chance to go deep into the playoffs. And I just said a mouthful of ifs. So take it whatever it's worth.
I would say with my if statement that I say, but I want to know if we're PG-13 or TVMA first.
If I have to rank the show, I'll let Candy Epling figure out how to do this because that's out of my area.
Because if Grandma would have had a member, she'd have been Grandpa. That's my if statement.
See, Jennifer, this smoke is a trip, isn't he? Jeremy's a trip, isn't he? This guy. This is your first rodeo with the guy. Remember one thing, Jennifer. This is the guy that had me very busy in the chat room, going back and forth.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now I'm on here. I may not have to go ahead and type in the chat room, but it's just as well talking to the guy.
Here's a great trivia question for you. Who's the leading wide receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders this year?
Well, I don't think it's Devontae Adams.
Nope.
Go ahead.
Mac Hollis.
Okay.
Who?
Well,
exactly.
Well, we knew Jeremy. We knew if you were going to bring it up, it wasn't Devontae Adams. And
And it wasn't going to be Hunter Renfro either, because that's their
Right.
two. It's
Yeah,
it's
a
this
method, Jeremy.
UDFA they signed that's just tearing things up in the slot.
Yeah. Well, there's a method for your madness, and I've worked with you enough to fire up Michigan to know where you're going, which is okay.
Hey,
But,
Scott, Scott, no Devin Singletary today. I mean, he played a heck of a game last week.
Yeah.
Not gonna bring him up today.
Hey, Jennifer, you know what that's called? It's called a needle because he knows I love to talk about Devin Singletary.
You always got to get him in every broadcast, so I just want to make sure we get him in.
We need to start a counter for you, like we do for Jacob. We need a counter for you and Singletary.
Yeah, we do.
We do. Okay.
We do.
All right, I'll text Candy about doing this.
Yeah, here's the deal. Here's the problem with Mel Farr Jr. I taught him too well. He's starting to get much better needles than me because he knows me so good and he's become a good broadcaster. He was my project, but he ain't no project no more. This guy. I mean,
the student becomes the master, huh?
Hey, listen, I got news for you. I'll take it anyway. I don't have a big ego. It's size of the Titanic. If somebody like Mel gets better and wants to needle me and give me a Devin Singletary sighting or anything he wants to do, it's because we have a history together, Mel. And and the first time we went out was over the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Was it the Big
Chicken?
Big Chicken. Well, that was a great time for us out there in Atlanta.
We used to do our stuff over the phone, didn't we?
We did, but then we got into the video thing, so it's okay. Cool stuff. So, all right, well, Mel, I didn't mention Singletary, but if you want to mention Devin Singletary, do it. We'll see. Who knows? I might just mention him every week just to get your goat.
There we go. I just didn't want to leave him out this week.
Oh, and you didn't, and you made it very clear to a natural audience that you weren't going to leave him out this week. So, all right, now let's talk about the Jaguars and the Eagles. Doug Peterson is going home to the place where he won a Super Bowl. Pretty interesting matchup. Trevor Lawrence against Jalen Hurts. Now let's break down the numbers very quickly. For Trevor Lawrence, 77 completions, 111 attempts, 6 touchdowns and interceptions, 772 yards. That's a tail of the tape against Jalen Hurts, 56 for 98, 916 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. All right, Jeremy, break this one down.
That Eagles roster is nasty. That defense is nasty. It gets after guys. It's amazing what they do, and I saw it firsthand. James Bradbury and Darius Slay are becoming big playmakers, but Darius Slay is questionable with the knee injury. So if he ends up being out, because they took away the doubtful thing and probable, it's just questionable. So you don't know if it's doubtful, you don't know if it's probable, but he has not played practice at all this week. He's missed 3 days of practice, so that's something to watch for. If he ends up missing, I give them a puncher's chance because the guy behind Slay, Bradbury, he's a great number 2, but I don't know if he'd be a great number 1 because he's been playing the 2s wherever he's been.
Mel, what's your take on this football game?
Well, let's see here. So they just came off a big win. I mean, this could be a trap game for the Eagles. They just came off a big win. Jacksonville came off a big win against the Chargers, who everybody really liked, and everybody's been talking about Herbert this, Herbert that, and they're talking about the coach. And now I hear some of the pundits talking about the coach doesn't know what he's doing, and they should fire the coach. So anyway, I think it's going to be a good football game. I like what the Eagles are doing. I like what Jalen Hurts is doing. I remember when he got drafted, I was happy for him because, he's a good kid. I thought that there were some things that he needed to improve on, that he needed to work on in the passing game. And he's improved year after year. But this could be a tricky game for him if they overlook or don't take Jacksonville as seriously as they need to. Remember, these guys are going on Monday. They're getting a check too. They're getting paid. And so I have a sneaky suspicion that, they could wind up in a little trouble in this game. Just have an odd feeling about this game for Philadelphia.
You want to make a pick?
No. I'd like to see Philly win, but for some sneaky reason, I think that Jacksonville is going to win this game.
Well, that's good enough. I'll take that, but you aren't going to give me a score, but at least you think Jacksonville will. All right, Jennifer.
All right, Mel. I need you to hold on to your hat for me.
Okay.
I'm going to agree with you.
Oh.
I know, right? I think Candy nailed it at the beginning of the season. Jacksonville is finally coming together. They handedly beat the Chargers last week. Like handedly.
38-10.
I like Jalen Hurts. I think he's got all the capability in the world to be, honestly, an amazing quarterback. He's got the right weapons. I do think I think Jacksonville has more to play for, though. I really do. But let's see how Peterson handles going home, because it does, at the end of the day, come down to coaching a lot of times, too. The players will play lights out for him. Let's just hope he makes the right calls.
Want to give me a prediction, Ben?
Huh?
Want to give me a prediction?
No. I'll say by 4. I'll say by 3.
You said Jacksonville.
I'm sorry. What did you say?
Jacksonville. Yeah, I said Jacksonville will win.
Okay. All right.
I got Jacksonville covering, but Philly winning myself. I think it will be a good game because both teams are playing really well right now, and I don't discount what that defense is doing for Philly.
Okay. Well,
they're good, but their defense has always been good. I mean, their D doesn't really lack a lot, and their O hasn't held up as well.
I'll give you a quick observation here. Jacksonville's on house money. They really are on house money. They beat the Chargers 58-10, and they whacked the Colts 24-zip. You know what? I do believe they'll win. I like the fact that Trevor Lawrence, to me, has been able to relax under a real coach, not Urban Meyer, but Doug Peterson. And like anytime Doug Peterson tells you, forget that last year happened, except when you got the paycheck, because that's the only thing you got out of it. Maybe you took a few lumps. I like what Jacksonville's doing. I do believe that they will win in Philadelphia. They really do. And I'll leave it at that. Nobody wants to give out point spreads. I'm not going to do it either. So, but that said, I like Philadelphia as one of the best teams in the NFC. I really like what Sirianni's doing, but I just love what Doug Peterson. He's in a town where it's the only game in town, and if he has any kind of success there, he's getting a statue. This guy. So,
and like I said, I know it's going to be a game, and I think Jacksonville covers. I know Philly is favored. I think it's by 5.5 or 6, but I after what I've seen the last couple of weeks, they don't give up a lot of points. Period. That's why I'm there. But I think Jacksonville has the high-powered offense to put up some points on them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like you said, Jennifer, Candy was telling you early on when you first brought her on, 3 chicks in a pod. And, you know, understand it. Candy's been taking pictures over in Jacksonville. She's seen a lot of the Jaguars as well. So she's as close of an insider as you're going to get going at the game, because obviously she's covered a lot of games with me. And you know what? The Jaguars could be, you know what? Nobody wanted to work with Trent Baalke. Doug Peterson didn't even care. And you know what?
Right.
So you talk about the best hire that they made in a while. Oh, I'm on the Jaguars.
No, I want to do the polar opposite game of the week. That's probably one of the top games of the week right there. That matchup, because you're talking about 2 number ones from their divisions playing against each other. What about the toilet bowl game we're going to have with Houston visiting Chicago?
Yeah, right. Now that's okay.
I mean, that's what I call it this week. I think that's the toilet bowl of the week.
I thought they played last week, didn't they?
Isn't it Houston versus Chicago this week?
I thought it was last week. I don't know.
Hold on.
Let me get my book up. I could have swore that was this week.
No, it doesn't matter. It was a toilet bowl game whenever.
No, it was last week.
Yeah, it was last
Oh, it was. Okay.
That's okay.
There wasn't many points. That's all I got to say.
Well, it doesn't matter. All right. With that said, let's move on to our parting shots. Okay.
Okay.
Jeremy, lead off. What's on your mind that took place in the last week that stood out, or what you want to say? Anything you want to talk about? You got one topic. It's all to yourself.
Oh, man. There has been so much parity this year. There's so much topsy-turvy. We got good teams on the bottom of divisions and bad teams, or what was considered to be a bad team at the top of other divisions. I mean, nobody expected Jacksonville to come out like this right away except for your friend Candy. So that being said, And I'm talking. You talk about the NFL pundits across the board, not just on any one show. It's been a great year. Who'd have thought, even though they got a losing record, who would be the number 2 offense in the league right now? And it's Detroit in yardage and in points. Nobody expected that. If anybody says they expected that, I'll kiss their butt. Because I didn't.
Well, they need to figure out the defense part.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing. And the biggest one that got us was Amani Oruwariye. 10 penalties against, 7 accepted for 59 yards, 7 first downs given, and all 7 of them led to 2 scores. That's 14 points that the defense couldn't get back because they didn't have a chance to even play defense on that because the guys that's what bad corners do when they're beat is they hold and do pass interference.
Okay. No, parting shot.
It's been a tough week, and well, I should say it's been a tough month in college football. This past week, Jeff Collins got fired from over there at Georgia Tech. Herm Edwards got fired the week before. The week before that, Scott Frost got fired. The one thing I think about with these colleges, not every team is going to be able to compete for a national championship realistically, and that really shouldn't be the goal. It should be the experience. I know when I went to school, I never thought that my coach wasn't going to be there the entire time that I was going to be there. A lot of these kids now are getting recruited to schools, and they don't know if their coach is going to be there, whether it's because they leave for a better opportunity or whether they get fired because the boosters have unrealistic expectations. And I think it's a shame for the kids. And then, and that's why the transfer portal is the way that it is, because, well, you're not the guy that recruited me, so I don't want to be here anymore. Or the new coach comes in and says, hey, I didn't recruit you. I want to get my guys. And, then the guy wants to leave. I just think it's a shame what's happening because I think it should be more focusing on helping develop young men as opposed to just trying to win football games. We've wanted Coach Donahue to leave, I'm sure, being 18, 19 years old and thinking we knew it all and really not knowing anything. We thought that would be the best thing for him to leave. But, in hindsight, looking back on it, that was the best thing that could happen. Now, I've had some position coaches leave. I had, leave for better opportunities, but the head coach was always the head coach, and we felt very comfortable. And I know he flirted with the Atlanta Falcons. There was some talk about him going to the Falcons. We were hoping he would leave, but I'm glad that he didn't. I'm glad he was there my entire time. He was there the entire time my brother was there. But a lot of these kids don't get that opportunity that these coaches are on an extremely short leash. Mm-hmm. 2-3 years, 4 maybe. And if they don't see what they want to see, they're going to bring in somebody else. And who's to say the next guy is going to be any better than the guy that just left? And I just think it's I think it's setting a bad example for the young people that really, this isn't about their development. It's about money. That's all it's about. It's about money. And I think it's sad. I think college sports really college football really needs to take a look at that and focus on the student, the kids.
All right, Jennifer, give me your parting shot.
So I've got a good one, and then I've got a kind of an ugly one. Okay, my good one is David Tepper. Keep pounding in the stadium. It helps. It brings momentum. Don't know if you've noticed it. Okay, and then here's my kind of negative one. We discussed this last night on Pundit, but it really bothers me that Brett Favre stole money along with politicians, stole money to put into his foundation to build a volleyball court for select, one area in Mississippi, only a few people can go. The fact that Coach Udoka's personal life is being lambasted across all media, and it's going to be around for 2 years, and Brett Favre is maybe 6 months max, and then it's going to be all is forgotten again. It just really bothers me that he's literally stealing money from the government, and nothing's going to happen to him.
Not just the government. I mean, you're talking about one of the poorest states in the country.
Exactly.
Right. What MA did, it's morally incorrect. But what Brett Favre did is criminal. I mean, there's folks going to jail for being involved in this scheme. Now, whether or not he escapes it or not, I don't know. We'll have to see how this plays out. But yeah, I mean that's that's
Yeah.
that's a bad situation there.
I
It
hate
really
that it
For
was
him,
like
it's bad for him and his legacy, obviously. But it's a bad look. But I mean, this goes on all the time, man. That's
It
what they do,
does.
man. It's Robin Hood. They steal from the poor and give to the rich. That's what they do. This isn't anything brand new. It's just we found out about it. That's it.
And it's sad because right now it's only a civil lawsuit, and it's not even being brought by the state. It's being brought by a watchdog for the state.
Well, sometimes they start out civil, and then
I hope it goes
they go criminal.
I hope it goes criminal.
It's okay. It's an interesting topic, and I'm glad you brought it up, Jennifer. Thank you very much. I know a lot of people wonder about it. Oh, no problem. It's what it's all about. The platform, we want everybody an opportunity to do what they've got to do. I've got one thing I want to talk about, and then we'll call it a night, and everybody can watch Thursday Night Football. Before I do that, though, get one more station identification here. Subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel, or visit www.southfloridatribune.com. And follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. Excuse me. To advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And also, if you struggle to find it through the website, just go to youtube.com, find South Florida Tribune, hit the subscribe button there. And then we're good to go. And also, I should point out, if you have any questions or comments about our show, just contact us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. We'll be more than happy to get to those. I only have one parting shot, pretty straightforward, something that is no surprise. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. The NFL is finally getting rid of the Pro Bowl. Guess what, folks? About time. Okay. Here's the deal. They're incorporating a flag football and skills competition. Nobody ever wanted to go to the game. The only time they ever wanted to go to the game was when they got a free trip to Hawaii. Made it interesting. The physicality is really not there. So of all sports that could get away with flag football, skills competitions, I think the NFL definitely got it right. I know for a while, they used to actually use the Senior Bowl as a way to fill in that 1 week where there was no football. I wouldn't mind seeing that also being played on the day, because after all, you can be looking at future players in the NFL. So the NFL got it right. I did go to a Pro Bowl a few years back over at Joe Robbie Stadium, Hard Rock Stadium. So at least I could say I went to that particular All-Star game, even though to me it was probably one of the fair deals as well. So meanwhile, great. Any closing thoughts? I know we talked parting shots real quickly. In fact, your closing thoughts are going to be, Jeremy, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
Again, I'm on YouTube at Kneecap Biting with Smoking Jeremy B, and you can also find me on the SouthFloridaTribune.com. Just hit the menu, go to Motor City Tribune, and you will see my articles there about the Lions.
Very good. All right, Mel, go for it.
You can find me on all social media at Mel Farr Jr., just like it says there on the screen, and then you can find out what we have going on down here in Atlanta and also up in Detroit for the youth at melfar.org.
All right, Jennifer, you got a lot to talk about, including some of the things we're doing.
Well, we're launching 3 Chicks and Salsa on Tuesday night, and that's with Candy, my girl Megan, my girl Carrie. You can also find me on 3 Chicks in a Pod, and I think this is the last week of Confidential, which is also on Tuesday nights, but 11 o'clock. And then on Wednesday nights, we're on the Pundit together. On Thursday nights, Alex Fleming's NFL Carousel, as well as this show, which I love being a part of. And on Fridays, I'm free, except for tomorrow. I'm going on Jordan Long's podcast, Sports Scoop 1. And on Sundays, I produce Basket Bros along with Jay Nelson. We rotate production duties. So,
I enjoy actually participating on Basket Bros and Pundit as well. And I know you and Candy are in the early stages of talking about doing something on your own. I'll let you divulge details as well. So great night, everybody. And like I told you, I already gave you our contact information. I'm looking forward to heading out to Talladega late afternoon tomorrow. But meanwhile, it's great to have an opportunity to work with all you guys. Smoke and Jeremy, you're great. Mel,
thank you.
You've been a great friend. And Jennifer, in the short time I've known you, I enjoy working with you, and you've really become a great friend as well.
And I love working with you too. I even enjoy it when Mel Farwell Jr. will send me like DMs on Twitter.
You know what? Hey, our goal is to entertain and make sure we provide insights and information. And more importantly, when we're out here, it's an opportunity through technology to bring people that are so far away, so close together. And I'm very fortunate that we're working on with a lot of our different shows, both with Sideline Sports and the South Florida Tribune, that we're able to do that. So with that said, that concludes this edition of Inside the Pigskin. My name, on behalf of Smoke and Jeremy B., Melfar Jr., and Jennifer Lewis, the professional fan, my name is Scott Morgan from Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us. I'm looking forward to Talladega, but I'm also looking forward to doing this show again next Thursday night. Good evening. Good night, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you again.
Thank you.